Hey, what's up, Tri-State? I am IzzoYaKnow, Mr. Community, and I'm sitting here with my man, Mr. Thom Butler. Now, Thom Butler, please tell the Tri-State, what do you do?
I actually help folks think about and prepare to go to college, also completing college. So I provide resources, guidance, assistance in that process.
Okay, now the reason why I asked Mr. Butler to be here today because he played a role in me getting in college, believe it or not. He hired a guy who actually helped me get in college, and I found this out this year, so I wanted to highlight him because a lot of people do a lot of great things in the community, and this guy does so much because when I'm out there, I'm always seeing the same faces, and he's one of the same faces. But I wanted to ask him a few questions because, you know, a lot of people are interested in going to college nowadays, but they just don't have the money.
Right.
So what would you say to that student that's, you know, he's not in the top 10, the counselors are not focusing on him, but he wants to go to school?
Right.
Like, what direction would you send that student?
I would send that student, first off, I would sit down with the student and I would try to develop a plan. The plan would be basically on what are your goals? What do you want to do in life? What do you think you might want to do? And from that, what we do is what we call back map, which is kind of like lead up to that. So if the student's not academically strong, meaning that they're not going to get a lot of options of where they can go to college, what we will do is we'll lay out a pathway of where the potentials are now so that they can build themselves, make themselves strong to be at the end of the line. So if they wanted to get a doctorate degree, for example, we can start at community college, but we're going to end up in a place where you'll get your doctorate degree. It's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Nowadays, you would say it's harder to get financial aid?
Oh, definitely. Well, let's say this. What we know is that the cost of higher education has increased tremendously, and the pace of financial aid has not kept up with that. And we're at a point in life where what we've discerned in our community is that you're not going to get enough financial aid anymore to cover your college costs. So you're going to have to figure out how you're going to meet that in-between mark, that gap in the middle. And so we help you think about that. If you're a good, solid academic student, we want to make sure that you get scholarships. If you're not a scholarship-ready student, we're going to figure out a pathway where it's going to be the most affordable for you to go, find those other dollars so that, again, at the end of the line, you'll get what you need.
Nowadays, there's an increase of women going to college and less young men. What would you say is the cause of that nowadays? Would it be financial, or they're just not interested in going to school?
I think it's a combination of both. I think that women generally, females, gender definitely has more, they understand goals and objectives more so than men do. We kind of go out there, we talk a lot, but we don't really do a lot of action. They are very strategic and focused when women need to be on how to get things done.
So women are the dominant species right now, that's what you said?
Listen, as a man who's been married for 30 plus years, I will tell you, and I've learned that early on.
What would you say, you know, because we got a lot of listeners on our praise and, you know,
Yes.
R&B station, and they may have a family.
Yes.
But they're interested in going back to school. Sure. They may have, you know, went to college maybe 1 or 2 years, but they want to finish.
Sure.
What direction would you send them?
I would say the same thing. We need to look at your, first off, we need to know what it is you want to do. Are you trying to get a new job at your job? Are you trying to have a career advancement? Are you trying to change careers? We explore that because that's going to determine what route you're going to take. Once we do that, then we figure out how much time you're allowed to do that. In other words, we have to help you determine what your priorities are. Once we determine that, then we can figure out how you get through it and how you get it done. So I'm not speaking necessarily to dollars and cents at this point, but there are ways to get through accelerated programs, for instance, or you can get through programs which might be a little more around the bend, but you can get to it in a way that's not going to hurt you in your economic pocket.
Would it be more difficult if they make a little bit more money, or would it be easier than, you know, say someone's on public assistance? Right. Would it be easier for them to go to school, back to school?
Not really, and I don't want to make it sound negative. What I'm going to say is everyone has an equal chance whether you are not working or whether you are working. And let me give you a good for instance. Community College of Philadelphia has a program that if you are a dislocated worker, meaning that if you have been laid off or you've been let go from your job and you're not working, they can start you on your education at a no-cost program. Wow. If you qualify in that vein. Anyone who is probably in a public assistance background will get a lot of federal aid and a lot of state aid. Doesn't necessarily mean that you can use that money to go to Harvard. You could probably definitely use it to go to community college, you got to pay your bill. Yeah. So again, it's about that, how do we figure out where your circumstances are. You may be working at a hospital And if you're working in something in healthcare, the hospital may reimburse you for your cost of your education, meaning you have to put your money out first and then they'll reimburse you. Or you may be working for any kind of company and that may happen. So there are options and ways to think about it. What I would suggest anyone to do is sit down with a professional like myself and let us ask you the questions about where you are, and then we can help you research out what you wouldn't think you would know.
How do people, if they wanted to get this information, how do they contact you?
Wow, okay, so to reach me, it's very simple. You can reach me on my email, which is Thom, THOMPGP @gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook. You can find me at Thom Educates. That's everything I use is with an H around Thom. So it's THOMEDUCATES, Educates. I'm also on Twitter at Philly Thom, or you can find me on Thom at Thom Educates. And I also am on LinkedIn. You just do Thom Butler and you'll find me that way. I do all social media.
He's doing a lot. He's doing a lot. You know, you're representing for your age demo.
Oh yeah.
For your age demo. You're representing.
I'm in your age group.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt. That's, okay, we're going to do that. But before we wrap it up, why don't you tell people right now, looking at camera, and tell them how important is higher education at this point?
Let me just say this: that the job work world out there right now, 70% of the work world requires some post-secondary educational training, meaning that either college or some trade or tech school experiences. If you want to advance in life and you want to have more for yourself in life and your family, your odds of getting that kind of dollars you will need is going to be better when you have more credentials and more education. The person who graduates from high school versus the person who graduates from college. The person who graduates from college earns over the course of their lifetime over $1 million more than a person who just has a higher education. That's just plain straight out facts. So if you go look up, for example, job requirements, and then the other way to think about it is this: if you are not working and you don't have the education, you are less likely to be employed. So that's the other way to look at it. And so I would suggest for anyone that the more education you can get, take advantage of this educational times where right now the economy is down, jobs are not as available, so you have programs like at community college and other places which will open up doors for you, allow to be educated, become a strong economic workforce person.
Wow, you know, Thom, I want to thank you for coming to Radio 1 Philadelphia. We're located on City Avenue now, which I'm very excited about.
I'm excited about it too. I love it. I love it.
Once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you, man. Okay.
No doubt.
All right.